My sister blocked the doorway of Grandma's cabin on Christmas Eve and said, "You shouldn't even be here. This place was never meant for people like you." The whole family had gathered because the doctor said this might be Grandma's last Christmas, and apparently that meant it was time to discuss who would get the cabin when she was gone. I sat in the corner while they spread paperwork across Grandma's coffee table and talked about property values and buyout options. My sister Charlotte kept running the numbers out loud, already planning renovations she wanted to make once the place was officially hers. "We should probably just agree that I'll buy everyone else out," she announced, like it was already decided. My brother nodded along, then they both glanced at me with that look I had seen my entire life. "Obviously, we're not expecting you to contribute anything," Charlotte said, and my brother actually laughed. "What would you even bring to the table?" They had already divided up my share between themselves before I even walked through the door. Grandma sat in her chair by the window, not saying a word, just watching the snow fall outside like she couldn't hear any of it. What nobody in that room knew was that I already owned the cabin. 3 years ago, Grandma called me crying because her medical bills had gotten so bad that she was about to lose everything, and I bought it from her at fair market value so she could stay as long as she wanted. Now Charlotte was pulling up property listings on her laptop and comparing prices. "Similar cabins are going for around $400,000, she announced. "I'll buy everyone out at a fair rate." I had sold a software company 5 years ago for more money than my family knew existed, and I never told any of them because giving them good news just gave them ammunition. "The roof alone adds value," my brother said, running his hand along the ceiling beams, "and that kitchen renovation was gorgeous. I paid for the roof. I paid for the kitchen. I had quietly covered everything since the day I signed the deed. Remember when the furnace broke last January?" My brother's wife said. "Charlotte handled that so fast." Charlotte smiled and said nothing. I wrote the check. My brother's wife kept going about how perfect the cabin was for family gatherings, and Charlotte's husband nodded along while Charlotte scrolled through listings with increasing excitement. "Grandma really kept this place up beautifully," Charlotte said, not even glancing at the old woman by the window. I watched them admire my house while pretending I didn't exist. Charlotte finally looked at me and said, "Honestly, it's probably better if you just sign over whatever claim you think you have. We all know you're never going to amount to anything, and Grandma deserves to know this place will go to people who actually contributed." I felt my hands start to shake. She wasn't done. "You've been a disappointment your whole life. The least you can do is stay out of the way." I stood up from my corner and the room went quiet. "I need to clear something up," I said, keeping my voice calm even though my heart was pounding. "I've owned this cabin for 3 years. I bought it from Grandma when she was about to lose it to medical debt, and I've been paying for everything since." Charlotte looked like she might actually pass out. Grandma finally turned from the window. "I asked for it to be kept secret," she said softly, looking at Charlotte and then my brother. "I was so embarrassed that I needed help, and not one of you ever noticed." She reached out and took my hand, and that was all the confirmation anyone needed. My brother stared at me for a long moment, then his expression shifted into something I couldn't read. "Wait," he said slowly. "If you've been paying for everything, then what about the maintenance fund?" I looked at him. "What maintenance fund?" He turned to Charlotte and his voice got very quiet. "Charlotte set one up 2 years ago. We've all been sending her $200 a month for taxes and repairs." The room went cold. "Where did all our money go?" my brother asked, and his voice had an edge I had never heard before. Charlotte started talking fast, something about unexpected costs and emergency reserves, but nobody was buying it. Her husband pulled out his phone and started scrolling through their bank statements. His face went pale. "Charlotte," he said slowly, holding up the screen, "why are there hundreds of dollars in charges for breast milk?" My brother leaned over to look. Why would you even need that?" Charlotte's mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. Her husband kept scrolling. "There's thousands of dollars here. Charlotte, what is this?" She finally found her voice and it came out defensive and shrill. "It has health benefits," she snapped. "You wouldn't understand." Nobody said anything. Her husband put down his phone and stared at her like he had never seen her before. Charlotte gathered her things and left without another word, her husband following close behind with a look on his face that suggested their conversation in the car was going to be memorable.